right, wake up offense. Wake up describes scenarios in which one player is getting up from a knockdown while the other is standing and free to start an attack. All right, here we go. So we just knocked them down and we advance in. You always see Batman players doing that. A hard knockdown will further limit the opponent's options as they wake up, preventing them from performing a roll as space is created. So, boom, they can't roll. There we go, closing down that space. A longer knockdown can give you a significant frame advantage as the opponent gets up. You can use this head start to time attacks. You can cut down space. You can do whatever you want as far as that goes. Connecting well before active frames, but all right, we're good. So we're going to do this. We got to get our meaties down. There we go. Make sure the attack is active. All right, so it's even possible to time your attack so it's active frames, hit the opponent on the very first frame after they get up. So it's very important so then they can't attack you. This is much easier to execute when your attacks or when your attack has more active frames. A knockdown is a great chance to force the opponent to deal with an overhead low mix-up, especially if you can time your attacks to hit right after the guy gets up. Just like that. Nope, didn't work. There we go. If you're constantly timing your attacks to hit just as the opponent wakes up, you can scare them into playing defensively by blocking. If they block too frequently, you have a perfect opportunity to attack with a throw. So we can do this and then throw. Since the opponent is in a fixed position when they're getting up from a knockdown, you'll have a great opportunity to perform a cross-up attack and force them to block from behind. There we go. If you use a mix-up or a mix of well-timed overhead, low, throw, and cross-up attacks each time your opponent wakes up from a knockdown, you can create a hard-to-predict guessing game where the odds are stacked in your favor. Also keep in mind, tidbit here, of your opponent's wake-up options, because some have invincible wake-ups that are better at stopping certain setups on knockdown, so keep that in mind as well. One powerful tool available to your knockdown opponent is an invulnerable wake-up attack. Exactly. The opponent can use this to interrupt your well-timed offense if you attack too predictably as they wake up. Invulnerable wake-up attacks are very effective at interrupting attacks, but they're almost all unsafe on block. Block and punish the opponent when you anticipate a risky invulnerable wake-up attack. Hey, we got it. Your opponent can also backdash, which we talked about before. We can hit them out of it, with far-reaching normals, forward advancing. It can be difficult or impossible to react to all of your opponent's possible attacks when you're waking up from a knockdown, so you'll usually have to guess the best course of action to defend yourself. The opponent has the advantage when you're waking up because they can start their attacks before you can. So you can consistently interrupt, or they can consistently interrupt you on the startup frames of your attack if they time it properly. So immediately hit square. Okay. Since the opponent can interrupt most of your attacks, one of your best wake-up options is to simply block. Blocking on wake-up has its disadvantages. You'll take some damage, and the opponent is free to mix up overhead low attacks to make blocking more difficult. They can also throw you. Oh man, see, she hit me with the overhead. You're also vulnerable to cross-up attacks on Wake Up, which must be blocked in the opposite direction. The opponent can also throw on Wake Up. If you're confident that your opponent will throw as a Wake Up, you can jump and punish the attack with a jumping attack. One alternative to blocking is a Wake Up backdash, which can evade attacks. Your character is briefly invulnerable during the beginning of the backdash, and it will always start on the earliest possible moment if it's performed as you get up, avoiding most attacks timed to hit you immediately after Wake Up. There we go. Remember that backdash is only briefly invulnerable as it starts. You're still vulnerable to attack, you're still vulnerable to attack at the end of the dash. To attacks at the end of the dash should be. Your opponent can still hit you with a far-reaching attack if they predict that you'll backdash. So it's just an adjustment. So there you go. Can't backdash out of that, right? Beware of your surroundings when backdashing on Wake Up. You're always invulnerable at the beginning of the backdash, but you can't move backwards in the corner. Some special moves are briefly invulnerable when performed as a wake-up attack. We already learned this. And there we go. Most invulnerable wake-up attacks are unsafe on block, which we also know. Even when you don't use it, your invulnerable wake-up attack can have an effect on your opponent, since they can't attack recklessly as you wake up without some risk of getting hit. If your opponent blocks because they're anticipating a wake-up attack, you may have an opportunity to throw. It's all a mind game. You can perform an invulnerable roll after a knockdown to create some distance between you and your opponent. If you're not in a hard knockdown, a roll is great for throwing off the spacing and timing of your opponent's attacks as you wake up. Roll isn't guaranteed escape. When you wake up, the roll can adjust the timing and positioning of their attacks to chase down your roll, so they can adjust to it. You also move backwards when you roll, so be careful not to put yourself in the corner. Oh, I got a block. Oh man, I'm all over the place here. You can also perform an invulnerable wake-up attack after an invulnerable roll to interrupt the opponent's attack if they chase you down. Okay. There we go. A delay get-up is another effective tool. Delay that, John. Go right over my head. Remember that you can't perform a roll wake-up attack or a wake-up backdash after a delay get-up. So no invulnerable wake-up once you delay it. So you'll have less options to escape your opponent's offense if they anticipate your delay get-up. Oh, hit me with a low. Sweep me. Sweep. Delay. Oh man, hit me with a low again. Alright, here we go.